Okay, let's start with this one. This is all about how to use conjunctive adverbs. Okay, you use conjunctive adverbs to join independent clauses and show the logical connection between them. You'll see what that means in a minute. Conjunctive adverbs provide similar logic to coordinating and subordinating conjunctions, but generally are more formal. Some of the most common conjunctive adverbs are listed below. And just to refresh your memory, subordinating conjunctions are the ones that are although, since, if, even though, and so on. They're the ones we use with complex sentences. An example of a complex sentence would be, if you help me with this, comma, I will help you with that. Okay, and then your coordinating conjunctions are your fanboys. Okay, you know how those work. Those are, I can help you, but I don't have time right now, or something like that. Okay, some of the most common conjunctive adverbs are listed below, and it's important to become familiar with them. Okay, accordingly, as a result, for, since, because, consequently, or so, hence, which means so, since, because. In addition, it could also be replaced with and, nevertheless, yet, even though, although, afterwards, after, earlier, before, however, but yet, although, even though, later, after, also, besides, for example, moreover, otherwise, thus, therefore, then, and still. Now, the rule for using conjunctive adverbs is pretty straightforward. When joining two independent clauses with a conjunctive adverb, place a semicolon, like this, okay, before the conjunctive adverb and a comma after it. Okay, so you'll have an independent clause. I can help you, semicolon. However, comma, nah, I cannot help you right now. It has to be an independent clause, so it's got to be a complete sentence. Now, semicolons, it's important to remember this about semicolons. Semicolons are like soft periods. They're not like a comma at all. They're more like a period than anything. And you never capitalize after the semicolons. You always capitalize after a period, but not after a semicolon. Now, here's an example of an independent clause. Ferrets make good pets, semicolon. However, comma, weasels do not. A new sentence can also begin with a conjunctive adverb. Be sure to place a comma after the conjunctive adverb. So here they would behave like a transition word, okay, like first, then, okay. So here we have therefore, comma, moreover, comma, consequently, however, then, for example, nevertheless. You have an independent clause here, independent clause here. Here's an example. Ferrets make good pets, okay. Same sentence as this, same independent clause, but it just, instead of a semicolon, we use a period, and then since we're here, we don't capitalize the H in however, because that's a semicolon. Here we capitalize the H because that's a period, but we still put a comma after it, and then weasels do not. So it's going to be a pretty easy activity here. Now, when a conjunctive adverb appears at the end of the sentence, a comma precedes it. That means it goes before it, okay? So you'll have an independent clause, and then comma, however. Here's an example. Ferrets make good pets, semicolon. Weasels do not, however. So if you put the comma, if you put the word at the end, then you put comma, however. And then here is, let's see, when a conjunctive adverb interrupts or appears within an independent clause, commas both precede and follow it. So that is if you're, see, like, let's look at this example. Ferrets make good pets, semicolon. Weasels, however, do not. Okay, so it's almost like putting it in parentheses, but instead of parentheses, we just use commas. And then, so here's the practice that you need to do. And so this one wants you to use this sentence, okay, fire destroyed the barn. And they want you to use the word however and add a new independent clause to this sentence, okay? And you're going to place the conjunctive adverb before the new independent clause. So we'll say, fire destroyed the barn, semicolon. However, comma, all the animals were saved, period. Okay? So that's before the new independent clause, because we created a new independent clause when we said all the animals were saved. So instead of saying, but all the animals were saved, we say, however, and we put a semicolon, however, comma, all the animals were saved. And now they want us to use the same sentence, same base, and we're going to place the conjunctive adverb, however, after the new independent clause. So now we're going to say, fire destroyed the barn, semicolon, all the animals were saved, comma, however. Okay, so now we're putting the comma, however, at the very end, and then a period. And then they want us to put it within the new independent clause. So now we're going to say, fire destroyed the barn, semicolon, all the animals, comma, however, comma, were saved. So when they say put it within the new independent clause, it usually goes right after the subject. Okay, so in this case, the subject was the animals, comma, however, comma. Okay, now let's I'll get my pen and illustrate a little bit better. Let me pin this up here and grab a pen real quick over here. All right, we'll do this one. So here they want us to use the word therefore to add a new independent clause to the sentence. Shelley realized her Siamese cat was missing. Therefore, she went looking for it. Okay, so Shelley realized her Siamese cat was missing. And then next thing you're going to do, you would get rid of the period. And then you would put a semicolon. Now I'm just going to put it here because it's the answer to set it apart. But normally you would put it right here. Okay, you would put it right there and then continue writing. And then you will put therefore, comma. Okay, so we put it before, therefore, comma, she went looking for it, period. Okay, and then they want us to play the same conjunctive adverb after. So semicolon, she went looking for it, comma, therefore. And then, and what I mentioned in class is that therefore here, that's probably not the best word to use. Maybe consequently or as a result or something like that, but that's what they want us to do with this one. And then here they want us to put within. So she went, therefore, looking for it. Not the best sentence to use as an example, but that's essentially what they want us to do. Some of these sound a little bit better. Now here's then, okay? Place a conjunctive adverb before the new independent clause. Okay, so Jerry handed the clerk $20. So semicolon, that would be the semicolon that would go here. Semicolon. Then he waited for his, that's my cat, change on top of the fridge. She's curious. She wants to know what's going on. One of my cats. She's the nosy one. Okay. Stop. Okay, and then after, okay, so we're going to do he waited for his change then, which is not the best use of, you know, this word. This is more likely, you know, we're more likely to use that one. And then he then, because remember that's a subject, so we would put it right after. He then, that makes more sense, waited for his change. Okay. Then consequently, okay, the man arrested for burglary and assault was found guilty. And then we're going to use consequently. Okay, so we would put the semicolon there. We'll put our sentence consequently. All right, so at the before, consequently, comma, he went to jail. It's got to be a complete sentence, subject, verb. Okay, and then after, he went to jail. Consequently. And then within, he, subject first, and then consequently went to jail. And as you can see, some of them flow better, like the beginning at the end, those work better than the ones than at the end, or rather the ones at the beginning and the middle work better than the one whenever we put it at the end. So that's essentially what you do. He did not yell, nevertheless everybody heard him, or something like that. And then in practice 2, let's just let's see, right, 12 cents. You don't need to do that. Okay, and that's it. So just finish that one, and that's how it's done. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.